Fantastic. Okay, here we are. Another episode of me, Chuck Love, trying to set the world record of watching 1,200 films in 1 year and reviewing them all here on YouTube. A few things we got to discuss before we go any further. It's not my fault, or I apologize if I bury your favorite movie. It's not my fault if your favorite film sucks. I distribute some of my favorite films, and sometimes I don't always get a positive review. That's just how it is. Everyone has an idea of what's good and bad. That being said, I do have an uncanny ability to pretty much guess how many films someone watches per year based on what their favorite film is. For example, someone once told me that their favorite film was What Dreams May Come. So I said, you must watch about 5 or less films per year. And they said, yes. How did you know that? Because if you had watched any more films than that, you would probably find something a lot better than What Dreams May Come. Just saying. But, yep, let's get going on the list here. 226, Night Fair. This is currently on Netflix. It is worth a viewing. These two guys, one just got out of prison, I guess, and the other one goes to pick him up, and they're dilly-dallying around town, just causing minor mischief. And they take a cab, and then when they get out of the cab, they do not pay the fare. They decide to hightail, and then the cabbie says, "No, no, no, no." So the cabbies start stalking them throughout the city, no matter where they go. The cab's right there on their tail, chasing them down. Starts as a weird little suspense, and it turns into a really amazing plot-twisted film. Highly recommend Night Fair. 227. Do not recommend this one. Darkness Rising. This small group of friends decide to break into this old, allegedly haunted house before it gets demolished the next day. And the woman gets stuck there and is told by the ghost she has to kill someone because she has some kind of link to the house, to some old sacred whatever. And yeah, it's a mess. Avoid Darkness Rising. 228, this was a good movie. Last Rampage, based on a true story, starring Robert Patrick from Terminator 2. Basically, he's like a 50, 60-year-old man, and his young children, his young boys, break him out of prison, and they have this whole plan of how to get to the border, and a lot of things do not go correctly, and pretty much it turns into a free-for-all, but very interesting film based on a true story. Worth a viewing. Last Rampage. 229. This movie creeps into my... I think, I haven't looked it over that thoroughly, but I think this one creeps into my top 5. What is my top 5? Well, Silence, Warhorse, Mississippi Grind, Elvis Nixon, and this movie, 229, Who's Driving Doug? R.J. Mitty from the Breaking Bad series. He was the handicapped son of Walter. He's now starring in his own film. Now he has muscular dystrophy. He is wheelchair bound, and he needs a driver to drive him around to school and back. And the lady that was doing it quits, so he needs a new one immediately. And this young guy volunteers, but he needs to go to Vegas immediately. So he takes Doug and his female friend, and they decide to make a Vegas vacation out of it. And then you learn why they had to go to Vegas, and then it's like, aha. It's a little over the top on the drama, but it's fascinating. It's you can't stop watching. It's really good. Yep, Who's Driving Doug? Highly recommend. On Netflix as we speak. 230, Miss Stevens, no relation. Cute movie about a teacher that takes 3 students to a drama competition. And she, I don't know how to describe this, but she becomes really good friends with one of them. You know what I mean? It doesn't get too creepy, but it gets a little creepy. But and the teacher's kind of going through her own stuff. She's almost 30 and she's single. She doesn't understand why, and then this young student starts to approach her, and yeah. Also on Netflix, it's not a horrible film, but yeah. 231. Oh God. The heyday of insensitive bastards. Good luck getting through this one, folks. Several short stories based on some author. It's put to film, and James Franco's in one of them, and there's one good one about a bully, but the rest are just kind of just slices of life about people being mean. Yeah, that was a tough one. That was tough to get through. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just garbage. 232. Desperate Hours. This movie is kind of widely criticized as a bomb, as a horrible, bad film. It does have a nice cast. Mickey Rourke, Anthony Hopkins, Mimi Rogers, David Morse, for you hardcore film watchers. The script was bad. Mostly David Morse had a lot of the bad lines. I don't know if he was supposed to be, like, not smart. But other than that, it's not a horrible little... Mickey Rourke breaks into this house and takes the family hostage, and it's one of those films. And it's, yeah, it goes where you expect, and the dialogue is, less than stellar. But other than that, it's not horrible, I don't think. 233, this film, Demon House, a documentary. Zach Bagans, who is the star of the Travel Channel show Ghost Adventures, he got wind of this house where it would make national headlines too because there were several witnesses about a boy that walked up the wall because he was possessed by a demon. So Zach Bagans ended up buying the house so he can do his own investigations of what's going in there. And he brings back a lot of the people that were there for the original viewing of this kid walking up the wall, and they had their take on it. And a lot of the weird things happen to the people right after they go into the house, including some of the people that Zach brought in there to film. Sometimes during, but a lot of times right after they leave, weird things happens to them. It's a fascinating film. If you can get it, Demon House. Excellent documentary. 234, The Neighbor. Stars Josh Stewart, who was in a great movie earlier in the countdown. I think episode 5 or 6 called The Hunted that I reviewed. His wife, well, they're bank robbers, basically. I think they were bank robbers. Some kind of thieves. They had all this money. They had all this money, and they were gonna get out. No, they were drug traffickers. That's what they were. They were they were doing one last job, and they were gonna leave because they had enough money to start over fresh somewhere. And he comes home, and the wife is not there, and he figures out that the neighbor did something because he's acting fishy, and there's strange things going on over there, and strange guys with guns. So he starts going and investigating the house, and he finds this secret torture dungeon in the basement, and all these people in cages, and goes from there. Very interesting film. Excuse me. 235, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1. Gosh. These Harry Potters just get darker and darker, don't they? Good grief. Woo! But, everything pretty much what you would expect. They're really, really holding off that final battle till the very, very end. I have already seen Part 2, and I think they could have condensed the two into one film without too much editing, without making it 5 hours long, but that's just my opinion. But yep, it was just fine. Still not as good as The Goblet of Fire, in my opinion. 236, Deception. This movie. Ewan McGregor, Hugh Jackman, also known as Wolverine. Hugh Jackman introduces Ewan McGregor to this club where he has sex with random women, and McGregor does this, and he ends up falling for one of them, but she ends up being a plant by Hugh Jackman to get him to forfeit all his millions that he apparently secretly has. And there's a great dialogue segment. It's not a one-liner, so I can't put it in my all-time one-liners, but it's a little dialogue exchange that is really, really bad. Ewan McGregor's talking to the girl, and he says, "What's his name?" "Kevin." "Kevin. That's his name. Kevin." Yeah. Who wrote that line? But yep, not a great movie. Oh gosh, where are we? 237. Conjurer. This wasn't the worst B-movie horror I've ever seen. This couple moves into this house out in the boonies, and there's this weird little shack on the outskirts of the yard, and they're told to leave it alone because a witch lived there many, many years prior, and if you mess with the shack, the witch will haunt you. And of course, the guy can't resist. He goes poking around, and then he starts having these visions and seeing these things, and then he starts interrogating the neighbors about what really happened there, and of course, that doesn't go well. And yep, interesting B-movie. 238. Boo 2. Madea Halloween. Not as good as Boo 1, but a lot better than that other one I watched where she goes to jail. So we got 3 Madea movies I watched. 1 good, 1 mediocre, and 1 pretty good. Boo 1. But Boo 2 was more of the same. Again, the old man cracks me up every time. Just about everything he says gets me going. But weird casting with Tito Ortiz. They couldn't get anyone else. But yep, I'll probably watch some more Madea movies. 239, Downsizing. First half of this really good, second half not so great. Matt Damon and his wife are going to shrink themselves down. I've probably seen the trailers. They planning to shrink themselves down and live small so they can live like millionaires with their modest income. And at the last second, the wife gets cold feet after Matt Damon has already been shrunk and decides not to go through with it. So Matt Damon is in this world of tiny people all alone. And he kind of has to start over because his wife divorces him, and 240, Creed, a decent watch. Nothing new or overly special occurred in this film. It is nice to keep up with the Rocky character, even though most of the characters from the original are dead now, except for Rocky. But this kid pops up, apparently being Creed's son, that Creed never knew who his daddy was, apparently, and because he died before he was born, and he gets in trouble. Then Creed's his widow starts taking care of him, and he finds out who he is, and he wants to be a boxer, so he goes to Rocky, and yada yada yada. Still not bad. 241, The Dark Horse. This, I think it was set in like Pakistan. This guy gets out of a medical hospital because he's bipolar. Apparently they lock up the bipolar crazies over there. And he's treated like he's crazy in the movie. Everyone that interacts with him is like, I'm bipolar. It's like, what? But he's kind of trying to rebuild his life, and he starts teaching kids chess and becomes a chess teacher, and becomes very successful. And there's a few more little twists and turns in there, but overall, it's not a bad drama. 242, Only Lovers Left Alive. Hated this movie. Two married modern day vampires. One is, the guy is about 100 years old, and the woman is thousands of years old, and they love each other very much, but they live separately for whatever reason. But the guy is like a musical savant, and the late Anton Yelchin is like his little gopher to get him things that he needs and requests. And so it was good to see him, but other than that, gosh, they decide the couple finally decides to meet back up again, and then things start to go from there. The sister of the woman starts interfering. But this movie is very, very... If I didn't take notes, I would have completely forgot everything that happened in this movie. Very forgettable movie. 243, Game Over Man. The Three Guys from Workaholics. If you're a fan of that show, you will love this movie. It's basically them as housekeepers for this fancy hotel, and then these terrorist group move in to rob this billionaire that's living in the top level, who has a small dog. And it's got a billion little cameos of people that you've seen in TV shows, and yeah, but not bad, really. I kept me watching. 244, Moana. Yeah, that Pixar movie with The Rock and the little islander chick. I don't know what else to call her. The islander chick wants to spread her wings and go out to sea and to find the heart of the island that the Rock's character had taken. So she has to go find him and return the heart of the thing to the thing, and it's basically every other Pixar movie ever made. But it's no Pocahontas, but it is fine. 245, End of Violence. I don't know how to describe this movie. Do I even try? Yeah, I should try. Bill Pullman. He's this big time Hollywood producer, and his wife is leaving him, and then he gets kind of involved in these shady dealings with the... I really don't know how to describe this. It's such poop. It makes no sense. And then it just kind of... It gets going, and then it just ends with nothing... Yeah. Maybe I'll try some other time to make heads or tails. Maybe I should rewatch it. No, I'm not going to rewatch it. 246, Rottweiler. This is what you discover when you are digging in the bowels of Amazon Prime movies. This is you dig up this Rottweiler. Okay. This guy who goes jogging in the park at night, which seems dangerous, befriends this prostitute, and they start kind of becoming friends, and it's mostly him asking questions about her whoring, and then all of a sudden she comes up missing, and he finds bits and pieces of her clothing and her possessions, and decides to go looking for her. And yeah, strange, odd film. The Amazon had this reviewed at 4 out of 5 stars, and I bet you if I checked right now, it would have about 2 reviews, one of them being the producer. 247, The Pedophile Hunter, documentary set in Europe. If you've seen the Chris Hansen 2020 episodes where he sits in a house and waits for the pedophile to show up looking for sex with young children, this is the exact same thing, but set in Europe. They set up these stings, and guys looking for 11 to 15-year-old boys or girls, and now they sometimes have handicapped young boys or girls. And these guys show up and they post their pictures online and the video of them interrogating them once they get inside the house. And yeah, it's basically the same thing, just set in Europe. Of course, one of the guys that gets caught ends up committing suicide. But yeah, it's fine. 248, I Didn't Come Here to Die. This wasn't horrible. It's advertised as a comedy horror, but it's not funny. But it is a horror. This cop stumbles upon this scene of this bus, I guess. And there's these dead people, and then there's this woman around in the forest with no eyes, and I'm like, what the heck is this? And then the rest of the film is the backstory of what led up to that. And these 6 volunteers went out to the forest to build this camp for underprivileged children, and there starts to be accidental deaths, and then people start getting upset over the accidental deaths and start committing suicide, and then suicides lead to murders, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not bad. 249, Havoc, set in 2005. Rich kid Anne Hathaway has this weird obsession with the gangster lifestyle, so she starts going to the hood and interacting with these vatos, I guess, and that are trying to deal drugs, and she kind of inserts herself right in the middle of it, and like, hey, what's going on? And co-stars a very, very young Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Channing Tatum. And I said this was set in 2005. Yeah, this was made. Well, it was made in 2005. So yeah, a lot of interesting to see them very young, because yeah. But it's weird. Anne Hathaway's character's, she doesn't take anything seriously. She constantly just gets naked for whatever reason, and she just wants to hang out in the hood. But yeah, weird film. Another weird film, 250, Cold Souls. Paul Giamatti plays himself as an actor who decides to temporarily have his soul removed. Yeah. And then apparently when he goes to get it back, they're like, it's not here. It's gone. Sorry. So he goes looking for it. Apparently in this woman who's aspiring to be an actor, who's currently doing soap opera work, and she's apparently stolen the Paul Giamatti's soul. So yeah, he's got to get it back. Weird film, not great. 251, Straight Outta Compton. This was a fine movie. It kept me interested. I'm not big into the rap scene, but I knew about the Cop Killer song, or the F the Police song, excuse me. I knew once the cops started intermingling, then Ice Cube's like, I have the song, and that's got to be F the Police. And it was. And but yeah, it was interesting tale. They did not stay together long. The NWA, big what's his guy, the big guy, Suge Knight, that's his damn name. He started getting involved and broke him up, and then Eazy-E got sick, and that was sad to see him withered away. But yeah, very good movie. 252. It's finally over. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Part 2. Long last. Lots of action. Turned out to be what the big fight at the end turned out to be gang warfare. I wasn't expecting that. But the big final battle with Harry Potter and Voldemort, I thought was a little anticlimactic. I expected a bit more. But when you're doing a film that's meant for kids, you gotta just have to tone down that stuff, I guess. I'm just used to big, bloody, vicious battles, but that was not what that was. But that series is done, so now I have to go on to something else. And probably do James Bond next. Start with some Doctor No from back in the day. But yeah, that's all we got. This is it. Until next time. Au revoir.